Welcome to the Fence and Deck Mastery Podcast, where we discuss cutting-edge techniques, industry trends, and business insights to take your fence or deck company to the next level and dominate your competition. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fence and Deck Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Danner, and also the founder of Fence and Deck Marketers, which is a digital marketing agency that works exclusively with fencing and decking businesses. Today, I have a great show for you that I'm really excited about. I have Scott Sheffield from Fortress Building Products. He is the National Sales Director of Wholesale at Fortress. Scott, I appreciate you taking the time to come on here with your busy schedule. How's it going, man?
Yeah, man. Good. It's been like you said, it's been a busy week. Just got back from Mexico with a group of contractors, showing some appreciation and love to those guys. So I'm glad we could make this happen. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. And all the pictures that were sent about was it Cancun? Is that where you were?
That's correct.
Yeah, looked really, really beautiful there. A lot better than 20 degrees we've been having here.
Yeah. It was funny how many of the guys were from the north and talking about, there's snow on the ground and this and
Yeah,
that, and how beautiful 70 and 80 degrees was this time of year. So it's a good time.
yeah. Well, today we're going to be talking about, we're going to get some information about Scott, and then we're going to go into all kinds of stuff about Fortress and all their products. We have at Fence and Deck Marketers, we have several clients that work with Fortress, and everybody always has amazing things to say about them. And I've known Scott for, I guess, a few months now. We were actually part of Chris Breen's group together, and he was also through LDX, the Legacy Day Experience. And in the group that we're in together, he's probably the guy that goes the hardest out of everybody, especially at the gym. So he's always got the good inspiration when you want to sleep in, and he's texting the picture that he's already done. So it's been it's good to have him in the group for that too. But overall, just a great guy, and I really wanted to have him on here and learn a little bit more about himself and then also Fortress. So, but let's just kind of dive in, Scott. If we can learn a little bit more about yourself, and I guess maybe a little bit about your story and maybe anything leading up to Fortress and starting to work there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. You made it sound a lot cooler than it really is. But yeah, in my life, I've been either in the construction industry or construction adjacent since I was probably 12 or 13. I and I've been in a leadership role in some form or fashion since I was like 4. I'm the oldest of 3 boys. Started out, so I was always in charge. Sports, I was usually captain of the team, leadership role, or something like that in most of the sports I played. I started doing some landscaping, roofing, and I worked on a framing crew a little bit in high school, framing houses. After that, I joined the Marine Corps. I was a construction lineman, so I built cell phone towers, radio towers, telephone poles, climbed telephone poles, did some of that kind of stuff. I got out of the Marine Corps and started doing some landscaping while I was going to college. I thought I was going to be a teacher. My plan was to teach math and coach soccer, and that's what I went to school for. I did that for 1 year and realized that it was not for me at all. So I went back in. I lost, hurricane came through. I lost everything I had in Hurricane Rita down on the Gulf Coast of Texas, and I moved to Dallas. At that point, I started working for Lowe's, and I was a store manager, district manager for Lowe's for 15 years. And I got a call from a guy that worked for me at Lowe's. He said, "Hey, you should go check out this Fortress place." And I was like, "Bro, that traveling sales guy, I'm not doing that. Those are the people that sell like vacuum cleaners and knives and stuff. That's dumb." Right? He was like, "No, just come see it. Just trust me." So I did. And I became the territory manager for Fortress Building Products for Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico. So
Nice.
pretty large area. And then 6 years later, 6.5 years later, almost 7 now. Wow. I'm the National Director of Wholesale. So I oversee everything in the US and Canada for the wholesale channel. So anything that's sold at a lumber yard, specialty fence deck store, anything like that, my team oversees it. And I have responsibility for all of the US and Canada right now.
Gotcha. So do you have, I'm I'm assuming they are like the guys under you are separated into regions throughout
Correct.
the US.
Correct.
Okay.
I have 6 regional managers that work for me throughout the U.S. and Canada, and then I have 3 business development managers, which is pretty new. And all of the regional managers have their own team that they manage as well.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
How many people are at Fortress now? How many employees?
Um, we have around 150-ish that are on the sales and support side, and then we have all our manufacturing separated from that.
Gotcha. Okay. And I think on the website is it like 50 years or is that just how long?
We're 26 years in business as Fortress. Um, our founder, Matt Scherstedt, started his own, worked for his father, and they made mostly stair parts and sold stair parts. And he broke off on his own and had this idea that he wanted to do exterior uh, deck railing and fencing. So predominantly right now today, our number one product is actually a railing product. So we do balcony patio railing, which steel, aluminum, cable, glass, all pre-panelized. And then we do all your ornamental steel and aluminum fencing. Those are that's our bread and butter of products. But the sexy, flashy, up and coming is the steel framing.
Right.
And that's what's really the differentiator right now in our business.
Okay. I mean, that's good. You're on the fencing and decking side because usually the guests that come on here are both or one or the other.
Right.
Yeah, when I first joined the group and started learning about Fortress, all I heard was steel framing. It wasn't until I was actually looking on the website that I realized you guys are doing fencing, and at the show I saw that too, but or at
Yeah.
Deck Expo. But okay, so fencing or the railings, the biggest sellers. So the steel frames, that's what's I guess shocking. I mean,
Yeah.
making big
That's that
strides in the industry. Is that the best way to
exactly.
put it?
That's the new up and coming thing. That's the differentiator. That's what's, you know, deck builders have been using metal railing for years and years and years, right? Fence builders have been using metal fencing for years and years and years, right? The
Mhm.
steel frame is kind of the head scratcher that's new, and people are trying to figure out how to integrate that into their business and how to make that shift. Some have
Right.
already done it, some have done it well, some are just on the cusp, some are very scared to make that shift. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you know this, but a while back, Forbes released a report that said the construction industry is the last to adapt to anything new and innovative, and I see it all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you talk to people, my dad did it this way and my granddad did it this way, so I'm going to do it this way. And things are changing, things are shifting. The quality of materials, natural materials, just isn't there anymore. You know, there's still obviously areas for improvement. You know, in our group, we have a good mix of people from different parts of the country. Some are using my products religiously. Some have vowed against it. Like our buddy Grant over there in the Outer Banks. You know, I'll get him one day. I'll figure out how to. But he's in a that's something we're still trying to work on and try to conquer is some of the saltwater markets. The corrosive aspect can be problematic for a lot of metal products. So we're always working on new coating, different manufacturing techniques to conquer that arena.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess we'll start with just like the basics with steel framing. I mean, what are the main advantages, that you're
Yeah,
seeing, like why people should choose that over wood?
yeah. We've done a lot of testing and a lot of research about how to make it an easier, faster, more efficient install that really maximizes profitability for a contractor and their company. We just did a cost analysis in Colorado with a contractor that he built side 2 decks. He built a wood deck one week and a steel frame deck the next week to really get an actual comparison with the same contractor, same market, same everything. And his all in difference when he was finished, when he accounted for his labor savings, his less footers, no callbacks, all the things, he said all in, it was about a 7% price difference.
Wow.
And he could charge his customer a 30% premium. So
Mm.
his profit margins just grew pretty substantially. The biggest advantages are the span of the product versus wood versus aluminum, and even versus the new composite framings out there. Nothing can touch the spans of steel in comparison. If you look throughout the country today, how many aluminum bridges are you driving on?
Yeah. Yep.
How many composite bridges are you driving on?
Yeah.
Right? But
What?
how many steel bridges do you drive on?
Yeah. Wasn't America built on steel too? Isn't that what they always say? Or
That's right.
yeah.
So that's one, versus some of the natural products. If you order a 12-foot wood joist, it might be 11 and 7/8 or 12 and a 16th, or they're all over the place. The They are very inconsistent in the size and dimensions because of how the grain of the wood, how it soaks up the treatment, things like that. It's very inconsistent. So the consistency of the shape and size of the product, then the span of the product, then we really engineered the system to go together very quickly and easily. So the speed of installation, I could go on and on, but it really is a game changer. And what we've seen is a lot of the younger generation coming into the industry does want to be new and innovative, and they do want to
Yeah.
push the boundaries, and they want to set themselves apart from their competition. And whether it's Fortress or any other product, alternative framing is one of the easiest ways to set themselves apart. In any market, there's 50 contractors that are all installing AZEK decking.
Yeah.
There might be 2 installing alternative framing, regardless of manufacturer.
So, and I just got a thought just now. I mean, with, I guess, do you see any patterns with like certain types of customers or markets that are really
Yeah,
receptive to that, to
yeah.
frames?
So originally, the market demand started in areas with mountains or close to the water where people wanted to maximize the view of their living space. So anything with increased spans made the living area under the deck more usable.
Hmm.
Those are also generally areas with a higher cost of living, right? I mean, let's be honest. If somebody's trying to put a $250,000 deck on a $250,000 home, that's a hard sell,
Yeah.
right? But if
Hmm.
you're in a market where your average home cost is 2, 3, $4 million, a $250,000 deck is a much easier sell.
Yeah.
So those were initially where the markets we started seeing demand take off first. Now it's grown and people are understanding, regardless of the size of the deck, we're on average a 10 to 15% premium versus a wood frame. So if you can sell an $80,000 deck, you can sell a $90,000 deck,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
So,
especially if they're going to composites too, where they're already worried about not having
right,
the maintenance part of it.
right. That's another good point there is, you know, they you hear that a wood frame has a warranty, but I don't know of a single person who's actually got that warranty withheld, right?
Yeah.
So why would you put $50,000 of composite decking that has 25 to 50-year warranty on a frame with no warranty that you know is going to rot?
Yeah.
In years past, it was the opposite. The frame would outlast the decking 2 to 3 times. In today's market and the quality of materials, it's the opposite. The
Yeah.
decking will outlast a wood frame 2 to 3 times.
And that's a whole other level of project versus just swapping out some boards.
That's right.
Yeah. So what is the timeline then for a steel frame, like warranties and stuff like that? Like how long do they end up lasting?
Right now, today, we have a 25-year warranty,
Okay.
and really the majority of that is on the actual automotive grade powder coat that we have, the final finish. Under that, we have a zinc coat. Under that, we have a galvanization. So you're really getting through 3 layers of coating before you get to bare metal. So
Okay.
the actual frame will last multiple lifetimes.
Yeah. So I mean, just steel alone, I mean, is gonna. I mean, we have just like a little perspective. We have built tree stands with like steel frames in our, for hunting and stuff. And every time I talk about that, they're saying like it won't. It'll last my entire lifetime. So you're saying that without the coatings, I mean, steel should be lasting a long time, but then you have 3 coatings
Correct.
on top of it. Yeah.
Then you have 3 coatings on top of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Which, you know, I understand some people's concern. However, it will outlast anyone living today, and
Yeah.
probably their children's children.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, then you're talking about how it's also easier to install or quicker, I guess. So can you touch on that, like when you're actually installing it, time savings
Yeah.
and things like that?
So, the same gentleman that did the cost analysis for us, he said his material cost straight up was 3 times, but his labor time was a third. So, for example, I did a steel frame with a contractor, me, sales guy, right?
Hmm.
One contractor and one person that worked in his office. So 3 of us on a job site. We built a 12 by 32 deck, 4 feet off the ground, and we were done framing in 4 hours.
Wow.
That's usually a day and a half to 2 day build for most builders, and we were done framing in 4 hours. So because of the way we've engineered the system, most things are pre-cut, pre-drilled, pre-spaced, pre-everything. It takes the guesswork out of anything you would have to do. And then, multiple times with a wood frame, once you're done building, you have to go back and plane the deck down or cut the ends of the joist off because they're not even, or all of these additional things that are people don't use to calculate their material cost, but it's in the labor.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
you know, that's what we found in general is about a third of the labor cost to install a steel frame versus a wood frame.
Okay. And then are you doing aluminum too? Or are you just
We
with focus steel?
just steel for the framing. We
Okay.
we've kind of tossed around some aluminum, but it didn't have the just inherent properties to meet what we were trying to do. It didn't have the span capabilities. It was more expensive. It would all of these additional things that didn't really lend itself to what we're trying to do.
Gotcha. Okay. I guess aluminum's not going to last as long as steel anyways, right? You'd have
Right.
to have some special coating on it to keep it.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So
All
and
right.
then the cost just skyrockets to do the same thing out of aluminum.
Okay. All right. Well, we were talking earlier before this. You're saying just how the industry overall is changing. I mean, can you touch on? I guess you've touched on a little bit, but
Yeah,
you've been in it a while, so how you've seen it change over the years.
especially in the last, I'm going to say 3 years, with so many more builders being on social media or following other people that are on social media, right? They want to say, do the newest, coolest thing that's out there.
Yeah.
And they want to get recognized for that. And they want to be elite and exclusive. In the past, it's just like anything else. Nobody cared about that. Nobody cared. They just followed their business model. Half of them didn't even know if they were making a profit. They
Yeah.
just did what their family had always done or their company had always done, and they had no desire to change, innovate, be more efficient, be more effective, scale the business. There was none of that. But today's builder is different.
Yeah.
The newer generation, they see these things on social media. They want a certain lifestyle. They want to grow. They want to scale. They want to do these things, many of them, and they're looking for ways to make that possible.
Yeah. And then you touched on like profitability too. So, I mean, I probably is because there's just so many more resources out there, I guess. But you're saying basically you see more and more people actually looking at their numbers instead of guessing. um,
Right.
there's a lot more tools, I guess, to help software and whatnot to help with that too.
Software, there's coaching out there. I talk about that all the time. If you look, Tom Brady in his last 3 or 4 years, arguably, very arguably, to some people, the greatest to ever do it.
Mhm.
And in his last few years, Tom Brady had 6 coaches
Yeah.
outside of his actual team coaches just to make him that much better than everyone around him, right? And people today are more and more willing to have a business coach, a life coach, a strength and conditioning coach, whatever it is, to help grow their business, help them be a better business leader, help them just be better. And that willingness, people are more willing to dig into their numbers and look at their profitability and know what they're doing financially in business.
Yeah. I like the coach part of it because I'm always advocating for that. I have a lot of coaches in a lot of different arenas, I guess. But like especially finding a coach that does what you do or has already done what you do is like the best advice I could ever give somebody because there's
Absolutely.
just a generalist out there. It's kind of like I always say this to clients and people I talk to, like finding that specialist. You don't want, if you're building some elaborate deck or outdoor living area, you don't want to find the nearest like chuck in the truck general contractor.
Right.
You want to
Right.
find a specialized person. And the same thing goes with all the coaching groups. Like you can find a generalist. I've worked with generalists. I even went on like Tony Robbins coaching group like a long time ago. And it was like okay, but until I found the guy that had the size of an agency that I wanted, and
Right.
in a group with all these guys that have already done what I wanted to, it's like that's when you get the information that you can start skipping a lot of steps.
Right. Well,
Run
it's not any different than
testing.
your health, right? If you have a problem with your teeth, are you going to go to your general doctor and have them start digging around in your mouth and pulling teeth and, you know, doing root canals? No, you're going to go to a specialist
Yeah.
to get that taken care of. It's not any
Yeah.
different than your business or your life. If you have a specific need in a specific situation, you need a specialist to help you that. And in many situations, the most qualified person is somebody who just went through it or has been through it before. There's a reason the best drug abuse counselors are people who have gone
Yeah.
through that, right?
Yeah.
Because they know what it's like. They've been there, they've done it. They have the skins on the wall, if you will.
Yeah. And I guess I wanted to touch on one last thing with the like pushing the limits and kind of the new ideas with Fortress's products. Is there any like differences or I guess additional things you can do with Fortress? Like, does it make certain types of elaborate designs easier? Anything like
Oh,
that?
absolutely. So, you know, once we released this framing product, we quickly realized there's so many other things you can do with it. Then we started venturing into the pergola options. I just did a 14 by 70 pergola in St. Joe, Missouri on their town square for the farmers market. You
Damn.
know, then we have some other people taking it to the next level. We have a company, Husker Decks, out of Omaha, Nebraska. They were just at our alliance meeting last week. They're building carports and lean-tos and uh, parking structures and doing all these additional things. We have a company that's considering right now building an aircraft hangar.
Nice.
So the limit, we've done a few of these elaborate gazebos. One of them, I posted a video on social media a while back that they built this really intricate roof structure, and then they picked it up with a crane and set it on top of a dock and built this really cool exposed beam type gazebo thing on top of a dock right on the water.
Hmm. And I guess so it's just the salt water there's ever an issue when you're
Right.
in fresh water. Okay.
And even that, we have people building on salt water all the time
Okay.
because, especially in wet climates like that, wood in some situations will deteriorate just as fast, if not faster, on a saltwater coast than steel will, right? I know, for example, we have a mutual friend who has a deck building company, and they have a stair stringer that rotted to the point where you could stick your finger through it after 5 years.
Hmm. It's not good.
Yeah, it's not good. So, you know, yes, there is a diminished warranty. It goes from 25 years to 10 years if it's less than a mile from the, but that is still in many cases an upgrade to any other framing material.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had a couple people on here that talk about, I forget the name of the chemicals, I guess, when they went from wood, they
Right.
started using a different type of chemical. I forget the
Well, the
acronym or
chem
whatever, but
the chemical compounds have changed multiple times, but also the structural integrity of the wood is drastically diminished. I can get into the science behind it and talk about growth ring structures and how that lets whatever happen, but my family has land in Texas that we lease out to a logging company, and they grow southern yellow pine, which is what most companies use for their treated lumber. You can see by this gray, I'm a little bit older, but when I was little, they used to log our land every 35 years, and they would had this logging cycle that they would pass from different areas. Today, they log the same land every 7 years.
wow.
The trees come out the same size in the end, but if you look at the growth ring structure and all these other things, it's vastly different.
Yeah.
And that growth ring structure has a lot to do with how dense the wood is, how it absorbs chemicals, and how it retains its shape and size.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess when you had the chemical, so I guess both are the both, would you say they're equal in terms of why the wood, people say wood from 30 years ago was just better in every way. You say
It,
you think like the chemical is like the main reason or and also the
it it's a
amount of years.
it's a combination of both. The
Okay.
chemical gave the longevity of the wood, the structural, the growth rings and growth cycles gave the strength and rigidity and structural integrity of the wood. So both were equally important.
Gotcha. So they growing the trees faster too? Or I mean, you said they're the exact
Yeah,
same size, so they're just found a way to grow them quicker, I guess, too.
they there's some genetic modification to the seed that
Yeah.
they use and different things like that, and different fertilizers to make them grow faster, and all kinds of manipulations, if you will.
Right. Right. Okay.
But
Do you see any other common problems besides, the longevity or just the quality of products, like any other complaints that Fortress really does a good job solving?
you know, we try really hard to be new and innovative and listen to our contractors' demands. You know, we have a stair system. No other alternative framing system has a designed stair system. Stair stringers and ledgers are the two fastest deteriorating parts on a deck. And I feel like we've done a good job of addressing that. We come out with new products and new parts and pieces to the system all the time because, similar to this meeting we just had, a lot of ideas came up how we can improve, how we can change, what we can add to make their businesses more efficient and more effective. So I think we do a good job of listening and taking that feedback to come up with new products that fit our customers' needs even better versus, you know, wood hasn't adapted anything ever.
Yeah.
A
Just
two by
got,
12 has been a 2 by 12 has been a 2 by 12. Might have changed shape a little bit and changed size, but in general, there's not much innovation there.
yeah. And to that point too, like Fortress is training, this is brand new to a lot of guys. I mean, how does that all work if they're like, "Hey, I'm interested. I have no
Yeah,
idea what this all means. Like, how do I do it?"
yeah. So there's a couple of things we have. We have a preferred builder program, Fortress Preferred. There's multiple benefits of that. We could talk all day about how contractors don't use the benefits of the preferred programs from any manufacturer properly. But within that, we have a Fortress Building Products Academy where contractors can go in and not only learn about our products and installation, but they can learn how to do Excel better. They can learn finance. They can learn marketing techniques. They can learn sales techniques. They can learn anything on this Fortress Building Products category or catalog. Excuse me. But in there is a ton of training and other opportunities where people can really dial in and learn more about the product. And then we do recently we started doing what's called a master class, and we have one of our top builders from our alliance program, which are the top steel frame builders across the country. They lead a class on a actual job site. We have a classroom portion where they can learn how to sell steel framing better, and then the next day we go out to a job site where they can put hands on and do some building with one of the top steel frame builders across the country.
Nice.
And that's really been, you know, really helpful to diminish that barrier of entry for a lot of people that are somewhat, hesitant or have some trepidation about making a switch.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, how long have you guys been doing that? I mean, that makes
We
perfect sense to grab the guys that are doing it the best and see it from them.
that's a recent thing we've added. We've done one of those. We did the first one in Toronto in July, I think, June or July. Then we did one that was with Simcoe Decks up that way. Then we did one with Raven Builders in Rhode Island in August, August or September. And then we're getting ready to do one with Wesley Bronner in Atlanta, actually, the week of uh, December 17th and 18th. So that's coming up pretty quickly. And
Okay.
the plan is to do somewhere in the 8 to 9 of those a year spread out throughout the United States.
Okay. Okay. And I have a rookie dumb question, but I'm just curious. And this is since I'm not a contractor, but when you, I guess when you're building out a steel frame deck and you're ordering the joists and you have a certain size that you want, do you guys ship everything out like exactly how you
Yeah.
need it, or is it adjustable? Like how does that work?
So we have a service where people can send us drawings, plans, fill out a quick little questionnaire about some basic information, and we will do a material takeoff and send them back a drawing and a material list of what they need to build that deck. From there, they can go to their local lumber yard, buy whatever they need. The distributor, almost every market has a distributor carrying this product now, which is very helpful. But the product comes in dimensional lengths just like lumber does to make it, easier transition. So you get the joists come in 2 foot increments. So you can order a 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 foot joist. The beams come in 4 foot increments from 8 to 20. So there's a little bit of cutting on site, but not much. But you can also manipulate that. Say your client wants a 15 by 29 deck. You can make that a 16 by 32 and you have almost nothing to cut.
Gotcha.
So,
Same cost basically.
right, a quality contractor can manipulate some design and eliminate most, if not all, of the cutting. And then, that's like I said, that 12 by 32 we built so fast, we manipulated the design a little bit so we didn't have to cut hardly anything.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, I guess like we've kind of covered this, but I guess your main pitch when someone's thinking about working with you guys, it sounds like pretty much everything. The I guess the benefits are very obvious, but
Sure.
still people are a little hesitant. Is there anything that they're hesitant about that we haven't talked about that you could kind of put their concerns at ease?
Yeah. So a lot of what I do, and it's done me well within the industry. I just try to talk to people, be a regular dude. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to educate you and help you make your business more efficient. And I think we can do that with most people. There's some that, you know, their plan is a little bit different and we don't fit them, and that's cool too. But by doing that, I just try to be an advisor to people. You know, one of the things, like, people think you have to have all of these extra tools and do that. You Everybody has a drill already, right? That's really, I've cut and installed this product with anything you can imagine. I've used an angle grinder, I've used a portaband, I've used a reciprocating saw, I've used a sawzall, I've used a regular circular saw with a metal cutting blade. I've done it all. There are some tools that make it easier. You can get a metal cutting saw that cuts a lot smoother and a lot faster, and you can get some, but it's only one or two extra tools.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of misconceptions, I would say, for people what they need.
Yeah. Has anything changed? I was just curious. I was thinking about like the COVID times too. Like, did anything change once that hit besides like just increased demand? Or I mean, did you notice any
Um,
differences that happened around that time?
Absolutely. So during COVID, I think just this was industry as a whole, not just Fortress, but the whole deck building industry. The more people stay at home and travel less, the more things they see about their home that they don't like,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then they want to make these changes and want to make these upgrades. And especially when they can't travel. So their budget to go to Disney just went into their backyard.
Yeah.
Right. So we saw a pretty big uptick in people doing home improvement, renovations, outdoor living, upgrades, things like that. And, you know, I I'll have to look back and see, but at one point 10 years ago, the outdoor living space was number like 12 or 15 on the list of positive return on investment for your home as far as upgrades go.
Hmm.
Number one was kitchen, number two was bathroom, then windows, then roof, then gutters, then new floors. There were all of these other things ahead of the outdoor living space as far as positive return on investment when it comes to upgrades to your home. Now the outdoor living space is number three.
That's what I was going to guess it as. I mean, who the hell is looking at the I mean,
Right,
your inspector will look at the gutters and the siding and all that, but
right.
like, I'm not buying a house looking at the gutters and being like, oh, this is some nice gutters.
Exactly. Now, the only thing above the outdoor living space as far as positive return on investment in general is kitchen and bath.
Yeah.
And with as intricate as some of these outdoor living spaces are starting to become, it's not just a 12 by 12 deck on somebody's house. You get talking about, three seasons rooms or screened in porches or outdoor kitchens. There's all of these things going in with that. And in many situations, they're the number one or two positive return versus anything else.
Yeah.
And
And I would bet that changes based on gender. Like when we have a big deck here that's it's like 1,200 square feet or 16. I can't remember. It's 12 or 16 anyways, but that was the first thing I was looking at was what's in the backyard, like what's there to
well,
hang out on, there are pool and stuff like that. But
you
I guess like a
you
wife,
say
it's a little
you
different.
no you say that there are a lot of the wives that care more about that too because they want to
Yeah.
sit out on the deck and drink their coffee. They want to have parties. They want to have people
Yeah.
over. They want to do these things now. That
Yeah.
is the deck went from being just a whatever to that is the main entertaining space in a house many times.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess me personally, the kitchen wasn't a priority, but yeah, I mean,
Right.
who doesn't want to have a nice deck or a nice, I mean, especially with, that's why I love the deck industry so much is because I see what you guys all can build and it's mind
Yeah.
blowing. I mean, just absolutely amazing. A lot of these decks that are put out there and it's like, I don't know, who wants to be inside that long, if you can go
For
outside and, enjoy outside
absolute
outdoor area.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But, okay. So anything like additional that's coming out with you guys with Fortress or anything you can share with? No deck
Yeah.
X happened, but
Yeah, I mean, we just showed this at Deck Expo, and it kind of ties into what I just said. One of the most exciting things we're coming out with right now is a tile support system, and allows people to install a tile on top of the deck versus a deck board. And with this whole thing about the outdoor kitchens and the design aspect, a lot of designers are bringing the aesthetic of the kitchen into the outdoor space and
huh,
they want to match that same tile look onto the deck. And it might not be the whole deck, but it might be a section of the deck or an inlay for the deck or the area of the deck where the outdoor kitchen is. I mean, think about if you spill grease on one of your deck boards and you ruin it and you have to
Yeah.
rip up a 20-foot deck board
Yeah.
versus a 2 foot by 4 foot tile.
Huh. I've never seen anybody doing that, to be honest. That one really took me back because I don't have any clients that are doing that. So
Yeah.
it makes sense though. And I mean, I wonder, so how does that play into like, well, I'm curious how it plays into like cost for one, like replacing that versus replacing
Yeah.
deck boards. But I guess
A
that's my
lot of
big,
it's a lot of it's an aesthetic. It's a new thing, but there's a demand out there for it, and that demand is growing. We were just at Deck Expo, and there were a lot of these different um, tile options there at Deck Expo of a 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter tile, you know, and then same thing with an inlay. Right now, if you do an inlay in the deck, you have to put a just a ton of blocking everywhere. So this tile support just it adds to what is possible for the outdoor living space. And
yeah.
with these guys out there that are wanting to push the limits, you know, I brought them up earlier, but Simcoe Decks has done 2 decks now with tile in it. Raven Builders has done a couple. There are people starting to do these. We're getting ready to do one with Legacy, I think. We have one coming up, with my deck in New Jersey. So this is becoming more and more requested as just an option to be able to do.
So this is probably another dumb question, but maybe there's someone else that's thinking the same thing. I mean, how does that work? I guess like how are you installing that? Like how
Yeah,
does the tile fit onto the actual like joist, or I mean, how does it work?
yeah. There's a couple of ways you can do it. The tile itself is heavy enough to span something like 10 inches in between. But the tile tray is more of a safety. When you put those in, it leaves a 4 inch gap. So if a situation happens where the tile breaks, nobody's going to step through and fall through the deck.
Okay.
Right. But, you know, cost is going to depend more on the actual tile you're using.
Hmm.
And we've had some situations where the cost of the tile isn't much different than the cost of a deck board.
Huh.
But it looks like a much more expensive and much more high-end finish in a lot of cases. And it's another thing that it's not for everybody, but there are clientele that ask for it and want that look. Like I
Yeah.
said, carrying the interior aesthetic out to the outdoor living area. As far as installation, we've had a couple of guys put it down with a flexible type epoxy or um, adhesive of that nature that has a little bit of flex and move to it. We've had some people, the weight of the tile itself is going to keep it in place. Those things are heavy. You're talking about a 12 by 24 or 24 by 24 or 12 by 36, 2 centimeter tile. That thing is heavy. It's
Yeah.
not going to move. We've had a couple of people lay down um, like almost like a landscape fabric under there, put the tile down and put a flexible mortar type material in between the lines to make it look like there are grout lines there.
Hmm.
So there's so many different things that can be done. You can use just a tile spacer and little foot that sits under the tile to set them on. Simcoe Dex did that because he did a herringbone design that came out looking pretty sweet. So many possibilities.
Yeah. Now I'm like just my head's spinning. So, I mean, do you
Right.
think it's like, I mean, obviously you guys see the huge benefit of it, but are you looking at this as something like this will be what people do, I don't know, decade or 20 or 30 years from now? Like,
I
or
don't I don't think it's that, but I think it's just like inside the house. You have areas where you want to put your hardwood floor. You have areas where you want to put tile because of stain possibilities or moisture or things like that. If you look at the interior of your house, there are very few houses that have the same type of flooring throughout the entire house.
right. Okay. So you
Right?
don't think people would want the whole, well, eventually, or they'll make the product to make like the whole deck in a certain
There
design, things like that.
there will be times where it's done.
Yeah.
Absolutely do the whole deck. but there's going to be just as many times where it's going to be a portion of the deck, or like one of the ones we just did, it was broken up in three sections. The center section of the deck was tile. The two on the outside were decking, and then there was a picture frame of a different color.
Huh. I'm sure contractors can get really
Yeah,
really crazy designs of that. They already do it with deck boards, so
yeah. And there's some of them that are doing it with just the inlay of the deck, and they're having just a few tiles set in an inlay mixed with deck boards and have a cool little just center focal point on the deck.
that's cool. Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna check some designs out on that. I've never, like I said, we've never put one on a website or done anything with it, so I
Yeah.
wonder when the first one will be. All right. Well, if someone's interested in Fortress, listen to everything we've been talking about here, and they want to give it a try. I mean, what's the best way? Should they be contacting you directly, or
Yeah. So the easiest thing to do is to go onto our website. We
okay,
have a preferred builder program that they can sign up for that will direct that person to their local rep,
okay,
and their local rep will reach out, do some training with them, get them certified. And then there are multiple other benefits to come along with that program. They can get marketing dollars that they can use towards company swag. They can wrap their truck. They can use advertising. There are so many things that they can use these benefits for with our Fortress Preferred program. Then they will get listed on our website. So if somebody looks at our website looking for a builder in their area, they can pull up and say, okay, here's the Fortress Preferred, and there will be Fortress Preferred Gold, Fortress Preferred Platinum, and then the top of the top is our Alliance program.
okay, okay. Is there pretty much towards the end here now? I mean, is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything I didn't cover? Any?
You know, I just, for me, I do a lot of things within the industry, but I love our industry. I
Yeah,
think it is, I've been in other aspects of the building industry, and they can be pretty cutthroat, and people only care about themselves. But I love the fact that in the outdoor living category and in the deck building category, most people will choose collaboration over competition. And I
yeah.
think that sets our segment of the industry apart from anything else out there.
Yeah, I talk about that pretty often. Do you think I kind of wonder, I guess, why? Because you look at I
Yeah,
mean, even like fencing, I would say I love the industry too, but it seems like they're more towards like the generalist contracting, maybe because, I guess with decking, you have so many options to do like really cool
right.
designs, very creative people, but you get into I guess, some types of construction where you don't really have that much flexibility. So I
I
don't know.
think
It's
I
just like
think
kind of
the
person maybe or something. It's like-
well, I think that the creativity and craftsmanship of the outdoor living and decking industry lends itself to that,
yeah,
because you see these people out there doing these crazy wild designs and using cool new products and doing all these things, and people want to know more about it and learn more about it, and it's not in an egotistical way, right? It's just we I think we have enough people that are all trying to grow our industry and move it in the right direction together.
yeah,
And if somebody comes in as one of those guys that's not towing that line, people know it, and that they will get ostracized
yeah,
if they come in trying to be that dude, trying to, you know, disrespect everyone else, and that who chooses competition over collaboration. People know who those people are, and stay away from them.
yeah. It does seem every experience I've had, it's a very close knit group. I mean, I guess it's not Dex is not the biggest industry out there. Like there's a lot more plumbers than there are deck guys and
Right.
roofers and stuff. So I guess maybe that's part of it too. But going to the
I tell
deck it's everyone. A lot of people know each other. Let's put it that
I
way.
tell I tell people we work in a big industry, but it's a small world, right? And they're like, I chose from day one that I'm not going to bash another product. I'm not going to talk trash on what, like, you want to use somebody else's product. I can still be cool with you. It doesn't change who you are as a human being.
Hmm.
If you're a good person, you're a good person. The deck board you use doesn't change that.
Yep. And usually makes you look bad anyways
Right.
if you're the guy that
Right.
does that. So,
Right. So why do
but
it?
yeah. All right. Well, yeah, Scott, I think that's pretty much all the questions I had for you. I appreciate you coming on here and,
Yeah, for sure, man.
diving
I
into
enjoyed it.
everything. Yeah, it was fun and learned a lot of stuff. I'm sure everybody listening did too. And anybody that's thinking about kind of changing their normal ways and trying to test some different products, feel free to reach out to Fortress and kind of see what they have going on. They already show that they have very in-depth trainings, and you can learn from a lot of the top guys in the industry that are already doing this type of work if it's something you want to get into. So just go to Google and type in Fortress Building Products. I think it's fortressbp.com, and kind of
That's
go
it.
from there. But yeah, going forward with the Fence and Deck Mastery podcast, we're kind of getting back on our flow a little bit. Around the Deck Expo time, we got a little bit complacent, and I want to get back to that where we're doing at least once a week. So right now we're on pace with that, and having great guests on like Scott. So if you did get value from it, please leave a review, subscribe to the podcast. It helps us rank better and just get in front of more people. But that's really it for that. If you do have any questions about marketing, feel free to reach out to us on our website, deckfencemarketers.com. We're on every social media channel: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We'll see if that lasts after that new law they passed, but LinkedIn too. But we do have a upcoming webinar in next week. So if you want to plan out your digital marketing strategy, we do our biggest webinar of the year at the end of the year, so you can plan for 2025. We'll have all kinds of free resources. We'll give you like spreadsheets to calculate your marketing spend, figure out what revenue you're trying to go after, and a whole lot more. So we'll be sending out links to that. But that's pretty much it. Again, Scott, thanks for coming on the podcast. And well, we're in the same groups together, so we'll be talking soon. But have a
Abs-
good rest of the week, man.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you. If I don't talk to you before then, Merry Christmas. I know I'll talk
Yeah,
to you Friday, but either way,
absolutely, man. All right, take care.
thanks. Have a good one.